Yes, indeed. It is time for another Disneyland Resort update. Hello, everyone. It's Wade for the Kingdom Report, back here with you in beautiful Orange County, California, just outside of the main entrance to Disneyland Resort here on Harbor Boulevard, taking a look at the marquee that has sat for the better part of 20 years now. It's something that over time it may have been given some different color palettes and maybe dressed up a little bit, but for the most part it hasn't changed all that much since it debuted at the beginning of 2000. Yeah. We enter the resort area and you'll notice it does seem a bit lighter in terms of traffic. There's a reason for that. A little thing called the coronavirus is freaking people out, and a lot of individuals are staying away from the parks right now. Just a quick mention, if you haven't done so already, make sure you're subscribed to us. You can follow us at Kingdom Report Live on Instagram and Facebook. And if you haven't already, turn on those notifications here and ensure that you are checking out our new content every Tuesday, Thursday, and our live show on Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific. We enter the Esplanade area where we take a look at the A-frame sign here. Right off the bat, once again, we are confronted with the reality that Rise of the Resistance, well, you better be here early if you want to get a boarding group. It is not easy. It's something that you can only do within the first 10 minutes of the park operating day still, so keep it in mind. If it's something you want to ride, get to the park early. California Adventure is where we are stopping off first. There's a lot going on in this park right now, so there's a lot to update you on. As we enter the park, one of the first things we're going to take a look at is the new park map. It features everything about the California Adventure Food and Wine Festival. You notice these happy people here. I mean, how could you not be happy with food and drink in hand? We'll take a look at the map itself, and you'll see that there are all kinds of things going on for this festival. It's nice to really see, too, the enhancements to entertainment for a festival like this, and then stretching all the way from like the Hollywood backlot section of one corner of the park and all the way out to the Pixar Pier section of the park. There are booths, there are character meet and greets, there are demonstrations, there's live entertainment going on, all kinds of things that wrap into this festival to certainly discuss and talk about, and we are going to stop off and have ourselves a bite or two, or maybe even three on our journey here today. Can't wait to share some things with you. But if you haven't done so already, might I suggest you stop off with Walt and Mickey here in beautiful Buena Vista Street, where you can take a photo with this iconic statue. It is at ground level, so you can walk right on up to it. It's a lot of fun, and it's a great takeaway from your park day. One thing I wanted to mention over here in Grizzly Peak is that an old friend of ours has returned, somebody that we all have great fond memories of. Well, the nostalgia, it's back. Our friend has officially stepped in. Who are they? Well, it is Soarin' Over California. I've been talking about it over the last few updates that, Soarin' Over the World was going to be taking a break. California was coming back for a limited run during the Food and Wine Festival. And now we can all look forward to it because Soarin' Over California is in fact back and proving to be far more popular than Soarin' Over or Around the World. Soarin' Over California remains a crowd pleaser. Speaking of crowd pleaser, Food and Wine Festival, as I'd mentioned, is underway. On the other side of Grizzly Peak, we have artichokes. Yeah, we're going to take a look at the menu here and see exactly what they have to offer. This was one of the first booths that I noticed had gone up a few weeks ago during one of our original updates, and it's nice to see what is being offered here. Fried artichokes with lemon aioli, and then I saw this, artichoke toast. Yeah, your sliced baguette, artichoke cream cheese topped with zesty olive and artichoke tapenita, and garnished with a drizzle of olive oil. All that for $6.50, as you can see there. I decided I was going to go for it. I was going to try this baby out, and I'm glad I did. Not only was it served up warm and toasty, but that cream cheese was plentiful. The artichoke chunks were hearty, and there really was a zesty kick to it. I was kind of surprised. I didn't anticipate there being a sort of spice to this, but there was, and it was a good spice. I've mentioned many times in past food reviews that I'm a weakling when it comes to spicy food. This is more of a spice kick, so not necessarily anything hot, but definitely a bit of a peppery goodness to this very thick toast. And remember, you can get yourself a sip and savor pass. It essentially, for one flat price of $56, you can get 8 tastings at the Food and Wine Festival. I believe there are 13 booths in all this year. So definitely a lot of options to choose from. When you think about that Sip and Savor Pass, though, just remember that the majority of items are around $6 to $8 a piece, and so for $56 for 8 tastings, I mean, that's up to you to determine whether or not it's of any value, but certainly an option if you so choose. Out here at the Paradise Gardens Park area in the amphitheater for World of Color, during the day, you see, it's a big stage with California Adventure Food and Wine Festival entertainment going on. There's always a live band performing throughout the day during these festivals, and it's so fun to have lively entertainment keeping you on your toes and moving and grooving to the beat. I so appreciate the festivals bringing in and ushering in all kinds of new entertainment acts. A little further up the route, we see the Berry Patch booth. The Berry Patch booth is something that I continue to hear lots about, and I decided to stop on off, take a look here. You got yourself the California Berries Summer Pudding, brioche bread soaked with raspberry puree and stuffed with Grand Mariner infused mixed berries and finished with some Greek yogurt whipped cream, fresh berries, and freeze-dried strawberry crumbles. $5.50 for that. And then, of course, the Ruby Citrus Sparkler is something that everybody keeps talking about. I decided to grab myself a slab of that berry bread pudding, and can we just take a moment to appreciate the fact that berries never really get celebrated the way that they should? And this is one of the things that I'm talking about. This berry bread pudding happens to be one of the sweetest, tastiest, and refreshing, delightful desserts that I have had in California Adventure in a really long time. You know, I thought for a second that it being soaked in the puree was going to be a problem. It turned out to add to the flavor profile, really elevated this entire treat. And for $5.50, it does seem small because it is, but it's supposed to be a dessert. It's supposed to be a refresher. So I highly suggest you check this out if you get a chance at the Berry Patch booth there along the route just inside Paradise Gardens Park. One of the things I so appreciate about the Food and Wine Festival at California Adventure is the art. Yeah, they try to incorporate a lot of different options, not just your typical merchandise, but also kind of a visiting artist corner. And this is something that really adds to the enjoyment of the festival because there's a lot to look at. You see here the artist on duty, McBiff, is somebody who decided to showcase their design, showcase some of their cute artwork. And I just love the theming of this art. You see everything from, Sleeping Beauty adaptations to Snow White, and you even have your classic Mickey Mouse, sort of a retro orange bird. All of this artwork just so awesome, and everything here is for sale. Everything is up to you as to whether or not you'd like to purchase it. But you take a look through this unique artwork, and I just love people's individual spins on what they perceive as sort of classic or futuristic or modernized Disney art. I love that so much. Also, one of the things that I appreciate are the many vendors that come in for the Food and Wine Festival. Here you see a beautiful presentation of some delicious maple syrup that you can indeed sample if you'd like. It's always fun to get those extra special samples as you go along the route, especially when you've got a festival sort of theme to food items. And then, of course, your festival merch is here. You can take a look at all of the goodies that come with the Food and Wine Festival for 2020. Taste the good life. I love that slogan. That's such a great and sort of upbeat slogan to go with, especially to incorporate sort of tongue-in-cheek with this Food and Wine Festival. All kinds of unique items here, and I really appreciate the logo this year. I feel like the logo is just very symbolic of Food and Wine overall, and you walk away feeling good about any of these options that you see in here. You notice this hat. Have a great day! Food and Wine Festival 2020. And then, of course, your wine glasses with that classic logo. You've got the Carthay Circle spire sticking up right out of that logo there. And then as you take a look at some of the other wearables, life is too short. Eat! Yeah, no, I'll say that again. And, this can be yours for the price of $69.99 if you so choose. And then also, you've got yourself some different options, not just your shirts, not just your hats, but also your glasses. I know that there are some keychains that you can take a look at. So all kinds of items, all kinds of little unique takeaways for your trip to the Food and Wine Festival here for 2020. And as we move along, I decided it's time to eat again, so we stopped off at the Garlic Kissed booth. This is also one that I keep hearing a lot about, and more so than anything in the Garlic Kissed booth, There is the mac and cheese that they are serving up here, along with the garlic soy braised pork belly. But the garlic mac and cheese with bacon, the white cheddar cheese sauce topped with bacon, red pepper parmesan, and panko crumbs for $8. I thought, okay, like $8 is a bit steep for mac and cheese, right? And so I went over, I ordered it just because I've heard so much about it, and they said they were out because it is so popular. And so I had to wait for the next shipment, and there was a line of people waiting when it finally did arrive. You see here, it did not disappoint. It is so good. Not only is that white cheddar to die for, but the bacon chunks in here were so plentiful. I can't thank them enough for really adding in the bacon in this. Usually when it comes to meat products, protein, anything like that in sampler size items, it's very minimal. In this, these were thick cuts of bacon all mixed throughout this mac and cheese. They need to put this permanently on the menu at Disneyland somewhere, and I would eat it all the time, and naturally I'd be 600 pounds, but I would eat this every trip. It's that good. So if you drop by the Garlic Kissed booth the next time you are at California Adventure during the Food and Wine Festival, get yourself this mac and cheese. It is so worth it. And tell me how you think it was, because I think you're going to walk away very happy. We venture on down the parade route as we make our way back to Paradise Gardens Park area, where this back section is going to be filled with even more Food and Wine Festival goodies, and we're going to take a look at what some of the options are for us. You immediately notice a sign that beckons everybody who loves themselves a good beer. There is a whole garden dedicated to it this time around, and usually where our character friends like to meet at during other traditional festivals. Well, this time around, we've got beer on tap back here, and there are so many different beers to choose from, and yes, there was a heck of a line for this very popular location. Not somebody that drinks myself, but certainly I can see how this is so popular, why it's so popular. A lot of great options, especially in California, known for its alcohol, known for its wine and beers. Another area that's usually a character meet and greet location was turned into additional seating. In fact, there's a lot of additional seating that's been added to the Paradise Gardens Park area back here, mainly because everybody's eating and drinking. So glad that they were able to do that. Glad they were able to make this sort of a flex space. Speaking of flex space, Paradise Garden Grill, a restaurant that I've mentioned in past updates, usually is only open during special occasions anymore, and we never see that old menu that it used to have. Well, it has been updated yet again for the Food and Wine Festival this year, having a host of new options, a host of new items to select from, some of which looked just spectacular. I was already quite full though, so we're going to definitely check these out physically the next time, but wanted to take a look at some of the items that they have to offer. Impossible meatball subs, brisket sliders, beer battered fish tacos, brisket fries, berry spectacular cookie shake, and Black Forest parfait, all of which look truly delicious. And lots of live entertainment, as I had mentioned. Why don't we drop in and see what's going on at the Paradise Garden stage back here? I know I feel like a smooth operator now. As we move on up Pixar Pier, the newest members of the Disney Pixar family have arrived. It's Ian and Barley Lightfoot from the Pixar film Onward. They're meeting and greeting guests for the first time with their majestic minivan. Goes by the name of Guinevere. And I gotta say, the Pixar Promenade area, it was meant for a bandstand. I harp on it a lot that, that band was cut fairly early on into Pixar Pier debuting. It is so nice to see something going on back here, even if it is, short term for the new movie. It's nice to have them around. Jesse's Critter Carousel, a little further up the pier now. It is back after a bit of a refurbishment. It had been under wraps here for the last month and a half or so, and now it's been touched up. It's looking fresh, it's looking new, and it's feeling good. As a reminder, each of these critters that you see here on the carousel, well, these are all critters that you can win in the Toy Story Midway Mania game. So as you go on Toy Story Midway Mania and play the game itself, you spin around and, shoot things against the screen. Each of these are critters that you can win in the final moments of your game. So if you didn't know that, now you do. Moving on, we are heading into California Adventure's scenic area, and that is very much Cars Land. Radiator Springs, ladies and gentlemen, here we are. I love this view. I love walking in from this direction from the Pacific Wharf area, because you are just hugged by the mountain range of Radiator Springs, and you feel like you are just in a different world entirely. We move on over to Luigi's Casa della Tires, where work continues just behind the attraction itself. We've been monitoring this the last few updates, where we've noticed that a structure has been erected back behind the attraction, and it looks like some final touches are being put on it, and it appears that if you see right up there on the top, you've got some what looks to be rims, maybe tires are going to be installed, so it's going to be sort of an extension of the theme of Luigi's back there. It's going to sort of tower over the ride itself. I love that. Love the additional theming. It sounds like that's going to be additional office space and entertainment space as the new Avengers Campus sort of comes online. They need that extra space for all of the new performers and all the new cast members that are going to be joining them. Speaking of Avengers Campus, we look over this direction right next to Luigi's, where we see just a bit of external work going on still on the back area of the land itself. Not a whole lot to display on this end, just a little bit more progress since the last time we took a look. This area back here is supposed to be part of the microbrewery and store location. There's also supposed to be a meet and greet area. As we took a look about a week and a half ago, a lot of this area, and to a certain degree this time around, is still very much dirt in this back corner. But we will take a look further into the land here in just a little bit. Still in Cars Land, we are glancing inward at the Cozy Cone Motel area. Every cone is currently under wraps. Every cone is getting touched up and refreshed. I love that very much when I see all of the cones being brightened and strengthened in their orange. But each cone is still open, so even though there are walls up, even though there are scrims up, and from a distance it might look closed, it is not. All of your cones can still be purchased. Yeah, all of your concoctions, I should say, can still be purchased. So feel free to drop on by, grab yourself a pop cone, or maybe a ice cream cone, maybe some chili con carne. Yeah, all of that still available back here inside of Cars Land. As we continue to move through Cars Land, we stop off at Mater's Junkyard Jamboree, where one of its turntables, a major part of its ride capacity, is still being worked on right now, so it does jump the wait time to a little over 30 minutes at this point. Something to keep in mind, a ride probably not worth waiting over 15 minutes for if you have the decision-making capacity in your family. But if you have a child that really wants to ride it, of course, go right ahead. As we venture on into the attraction itself, we look across the turntable of Mater's Junkyard to see some of the physical ramifications of Avengers Campus. We also see some cranes back here with some earth movers and some various external features of the land, including all the brickwork that has been laid on the facade of the main attraction, which is the Spider-Man attraction that is going to be opening a little bit later on this year, more towards summertime. It's exciting to see it coming along so quickly, and I definitely know that this end of things is really what everyone is fixated on, because this is where we're seeing the most amount of progress. So this area is where, like I said, that Spider-Man attraction is going to be, and this is really where everybody's going to be captivated at, I think, as they walk by. A lot of the blueprints, a lot of the things that we've seen in terms of concept art show a lot going on up here on the rooftops. This is where it's believed that the audio animatronic that jumps and flips and dives will be doing so as Spider-Man, and it will be doing so over the rooftops of this building, the Avengers Campus itself. And I know that as external work continues, you'll see that not only was this piece installed, this sort of protruding beam, but also there is an additional beam that has been installed over here to the left. And so you'll notice that both of those are fairly close together. It's believed that this is where a lot of the scenes are going to be happening at, that from one beam to the other, this is where the Spider-Man animatronic is going to be swinging from. So it'll be really cool to see this, especially as you are walking past the land. It's going to attract a lot of attention, and just very exciting to have the Avengers coming to Disneyland's California Adventure, and knowing that this is going to be an option soon is so cool, especially since Florida isn't able to have a whole lot of Marvel representation. One of the things that I wanted to point out is coming right off of Buena Vista Street and walking down this route towards Avengers Campus is, as the Food and Wine Festival is going on, the walls for construction have protruded out so far that it's kind of bottlenecking things, because you have booths on the right and then you have the construction for the land on the left. So during busy days, especially on weekends and stuff like that, this area can get really crowded. Something to keep in mind on your next trip if you're coming during the food and wine season. We move on back towards the Hollywood Land section of the park, where you see it's still happening back here in terms of facade work on the Hyperion Theater. Clouds are being painted in, and I love the look. This is such a great photo op for everybody, and such a historic place to take your picture, as it's been a part of California Adventure since the very beginning. And in the Hollywood backlot section itself, you can come meet Chef Goofy. Yeah, he's meeting and greeting back here for the Food and Wine Festival. So you can come say hello and get to know how he creates all of his yummy goodness over at Goofy's Kitchen at the Disneyland Hotel. Because remember, he is an executive chef. He's trained, he's ordained as an executive chef. So you are meeting somebody that has great credentials. And then, of course, here in the Hollywood backlot stage, which is normally just sort of reserved for performing arts groups, well, during Food and Wine, it becomes the demonstration stage. So I love that they use this for the Food and Wine demonstrations. A lot of space back here. You can definitely see a lot going on in terms of the various options that they have throughout the week, and especially on the weekends. A great spacious environment to host the Food and Wine demonstrations. And back behind at Monsters, Inc., Mike and Sully to the rescue, as we'd mentioned in prior updates. While the wait time continues to be very high now that they've added FastPass into the mix. So with FastPass, it jumps the standby wait time substantially, and on this day, it was closer to 50 minutes, which typically this ride only has like a 10 to 15 minute wait. So before FastPass, things were a lot easier, but I certainly understand that they're adding it for more options in terms of your FastPass selections. We move back here towards the Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout attraction, where walls have wrapped up on one side of the attraction, where they were installing some new pavement and new designs on the ground, and now walls have sprung up on the opposite side, right next to the Hyperion Theater here for perspective. So I think that they are continuing the progress on the groundwork. You can see the new design here, sort of that black and white motif that they have going on. One of the great things that has happened since they have returned and sort of opened this area back up is the Guardians of the Galaxy now get to perform again right in front of the attraction itself. This was something that went on for quite a while the attraction had first opened, and now that the walls have moved out of the way, you see Star-Lord and Gamora back there, and Star-Lord getting dissed by one of the park guests, didn't high-five him. But you see back here they get to perform again and get to hang out with guests. It is a really fun little show. If you've never seen it, definitely make time in your trip to stop off and see these two and their antics. Guardians of the Galaxy, as I had mentioned, right here next to Avengers Campus and what will be Avengers Campus. You see not a whole lot from this inn that we can get perspective on, as I always come back here to try and take a look and see what's happening. There is a little bit more work done to the rooftops themselves, done to the structures themselves in terms of like steel work and framing, but as far as external progress, not a whole lot to report on back here. So again, I think this is a part of the land that they are still not all that focused on. They're just hammering out that front piece that we saw here a few minutes ago. We leave California Adventure and head across the Esplanade to the original Magic Kingdom, Disneyland Park, where we are confronted by an A-frame sign that says, if you weren't here early enough, you're probably not getting on Rise of the Resistance. So again, these A-frame signs are absolutely everywhere when you walk into the main entrance area of the park, just kind of warning you, please don't be disappointed. You're probably not getting on. So again, you got to get there early to get on Rise of the Resistance. It hasn't changed. As we enter the park itself, we see that not only is the floral looking beautiful and majestic, but it's accompanied by Mickey and Minnie. Yes, the boss mouse and his beautiful girl here meeting and greeting all of our visitors. You just cannot get enough of their love because if there's anybody that knows true love, it's these two, right? It's Mickey and Minnie. Soulmates for life, these two. Look how happy they are just to be here and meeting and greeting little ones, and the little ones at heart. I know that whenever I get to see Mickey and Minnie, I get the butterflies all over again. I feel good. I know that you probably do too. There's nothing like a hug from these two. As we venture up Main Street, USA, you notice people already staking claim to their spots for the new Magic Happens parade. It's about an hour and 15 minutes before the next parade, so that gives you some perspective on how long folks are waiting. The new parade debuted last week, and we were there on opening day to capture the point of view perspective of the nighttime version of the parade itself. It is something very fun, very upbeat, and totally worth checking out. As we move into Tomorrowland, we see this godforsaken staircase that never seems to be finished. The walls are up at the top and the bottom still. It looks like everything else is out from under wraps, but the emergency exit staircase that goes from the top of Space Mountain down back to the ground floor continues to be under wraps. I'm sure any minute now these walls are going to come down. They're probably just waiting for an inspection or something like that. But at any rate, it hasn't really changed the aesthetic all that much as many people thought it was going to. So it kind of fits right into Tomorrowland proper. We venture into Mickey's ToonTown now, a land that typically is closed early during days that have fireworks. This is one of those days where we were able to get back here and take a look around, especially since ToonTown is becoming a place that will get some added energy to it very soon, and with Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway being built behind the scenes of this land. As Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway has just opened at Disney's Hollywood Studios in Orlando, it's really exciting to know that this ToonTown is getting its own version of that ride, and I can't tell you, it is long overdue that this land gets some much needed attention, much needed new energy pumped into it. I really thought it was one that was going to be cut down, trimmed out, and replaced, but it's nice to know that we are keeping ToonTown. And back here, behind it, you notice that that blue and green building, that's the corporate offices for Disneyland. The white building right here in the foreground, that happens to be a cast member cafeteria. And then just along the roof line here, that space between the white building cafeteria and the gates here with Minnie Mouse just below you at the bottom of the screen. This whole area back here is where the entire attraction is being built and will rise from. So they took down the rolling green hills that used to be back there, that used to make it feel like sort of an animated property, and they are now building on top of what used to be the former costuming building for entertainment back there. So definitely using up the space behind Mickey and Minnie's house and behind ToonTown's downtown and ToonTown's residential community. It's going to be really fantastic to have Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway joining this property here in the coming years. And now we arrive to Fantasyland, the happiest kingdom of them all, home to Snow White's scary adventures. Finally coming up for air after many months under wraps. Finally some scrim work has come down. We get to check the progress as to what's been happening underneath as this classic 1955 attraction gets some new life breathed into it and some external work done. You'll notice that the color palette here is matching that of Sleeping Beauty Castle and is extending out all the way up to the perimeter itself of Snow White's Scary Adventures. This attraction is something that, while it got a sort of elevated refurb and some restructuring in 1983's new Fantasyland project, has remained relatively the same since, and so it's nice to see some work being done. Mustardy colors happening here, and those columns there around the window where the evil queen usually peers out of, those have also been changed into a lighter shade. It's nice to see that all of this is happening and that we are finally getting the TLC onto this attraction that it deserves. I know that there are a lot of details in and around this facade work that interest people, and so we definitely wanted to take a bit of a closer look and definitely examine each nook and cranny. And as I had mentioned, the Sleeping Beauty Castle color palette motif stretches all the way up until the ride, and then the ride sort of changes in color, and then as you go along towards Pinocchio's to the right, things get a little bit darker in terms of shade. But you'll notice the crows here, absolutely the coolest detail of this facade. One of my favorite things about walking up to this ride is looking up and seeing the crows in the concrete work. It's such a nice added touch that, that's what Disney's known for. These little details, if you're not looking for it, you might just miss it. But Snow White's Scary Adventure due back here in late spring. Can't wait to see all the new magic that's been pumped into it as we venture into Fantasyland. Speaking of Fantasyland work, it appears that King Arthur's carousel is still under wraps. This time, everything is under wraps. It looks like it's being fumigated is what it looks like. I know that's not the case, but every last opportunity we've had to take a look at this, we've seen the spires sort of poking out of the top and the structural framework being replaced at the very peak. Now it's all under wraps, so hopefully this will be fixed up and ready to be ridden again very soon. As you know, these walls in the middle of the land really do choke those side walkways, so it'll be nice to have all that space back as soon as the refreshed King Arthur carousel returns. Another really cool thing that I wanted to point out is the last update we were here. Well, Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique, the boutique where your little pumpkin can become a princess. Well, it was behind facade scrims and being worked on, and now it is vibrant and refreshed to look like the rest of the castle area, and it's back open. You could still access it while it was under wraps, but now it looks open. Now there's no walls in the way and scrim work making you think that it wasn't. At any rate, it's nice to have it back. We head out west, taking a look at the rivers of America as the sun is setting on this Magic Kingdom day, but not before we check out the progress over at the Haunted Mansion. Over here in New Orleans Square, you see that the facade itself is starting to peek out for the first time in many months. As the scrims have come down ever so slightly, you start to notice that the Haunted Mansion is breathing back to life, no pun intended, as the TLC mission of just sprucing the place up and making it glow again, well, it is finally paying off. As the Haunted Mansion holiday departed, immediately the mansion itself went under wraps and has been getting worked on inside and out the entire time. It is nice to finally see some progress here and some of the scrims finally come down. I know that, when this opened originally in 1969, it had relatively simple technology then that made the attraction work. And it's kind of incredible to think that it's still wowing people to this very day. Again, simple technology sometimes is timeless. And I know that when this was originally built in 1963, it just sat there for a number of years, unused. It just hadn't been operating yet because Walt Disney finally focused his time on the 1964 World's Fair. And so during that time, this attraction changed versions of what it was going to be several times, and so he waited until after to finally say, you know what, let's move forward with a different concept, and rather than a walk-through attraction, it became something radically different that we know it to be today. And it's very exciting to know that the Haunted Mansion continues to wow everybody all these years later, more than 50 years after it originally opened. And here we are back again at the heart of it all, the hub in front of Sleeping Beauty Castle, where everybody is preparing themselves for the Magic Happens parade. Just be forewarned, we're about to see some of the parade segments as we walk past Main Street on our way out of today's update. Wanted to mention that if you haven't already, ensure that you are subscribed to us, please, and make sure you got that notification bell turned on. I know that we have new content for you every Tuesday and Thursday, and of course our live show on Saturdays, every Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific. You don't want to miss Kingdom Report Live. As we venture on out of Main Street, USA, you see the start of the parade itself. A lot of these uniquely dressed dancers, and then of course Sorcerer Mickey himself leading the parade. I have to tell you, if you need to sum this up in a couple of words or a couple of ideas, I'll tell you that the parade itself sort of evoked an 80s style nostalgia, and I would say that in terms of music and look, it's almost like Mickey's Sensational Parade meets Michael Jackson's Thriller without any of the creepy vibes. And what I mean by that, of course, is, the creepy vibes of Thriller itself. It's a very creepy music video. So this here is something that is very unique and very interesting for Disneyland to have. I liked it a lot, and if you ever get an opportunity to see it in the dark at night, it shines brighter than ever. No pun intended, it is so elevated at night due to all of the cool effects that the parade floats have. Well, friends, that about wraps up today's Disneyland Resort update. I hope you've had a good time. I know I have. Once again, my name is Wade, and if you'd like to check out anything that I have to offer, you can follow me at WadeWire on Instagram and Facebook. You can also check me out on Twitter. It is a great pleasure to spend time with you at any point, and to leave you here, we take a look at Downtown Disney's Easter flowers. We'll see you next time. For the Kingdom Report, I'm Wade Heath.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome.